How does it feel to you to see your wife through the new eyes that this program is designed to give you?
Oh, she's a whole new woman to me. She's somebody that I've always wanted as a woman. She's exactly, I've accepted everything. She said before I wouldn't, and now I've accepted, you can't change a person and what they want to do and the things that they do. You can change yourself so that that person changes toward you.
You just got to be coachable.
If you don't already know who I am, my name is Griffin, and I help men that have something to lose, assets, family, legacy, that are facing an unwanted divorce from their wife, even if she has no interest at the time of restoring or working on the relationship. I help men successfully take their relationship back, take their life back, and not only change themselves, but lead their wife through rebuilding intimacy through communication and changing herself and taking the whole family to a place where we can establish and build a legacy.
Men, the admission for today's video is only one thing. Press that like button, but more importantly for you, press the subscribe button and change the settings to all. I don't want you to miss one single video that could actually help you save your marriage.
So today I'm with Jamie. Jamie is sharing his success stories within the Divorce Stoppers program. Whenever we met Jamie, he was facing struggles and challenges in his marriage. He has a family, and the goal here when we met Jamie was to restore the marriage and rebuild the relationship. So Jamie, when I first met you in the program, what was going on whenever you got on a Zoom with us the first time that we ever spoke to you? Where were you at in your relationship with your wife? Where were you at in your relationship with yourself? Where were you at in your life?
With my relationship with my wife, we were just the point where she was done, numb, had nothing left to give, spent all these years trying, and I wasn't making changes. I was just a stubborn, ignorant man that was stuck in my way and didn't know how to treat a person properly. And myself in my life, I was there. I was in a dark place. I was grumpy. I got rid of all my friends. I just sat in my garage, did what I wanted to do, and didn't pay attention to anything that was going on in my life other than what I wanted to pay attention to.
Gotcha. How was that affecting individual areas of your life, like your employment, your career, your business? How is it affecting your children, your wife, your family members?
At work, I just was grumpy towards anybody that, didn't have a work ethic. I didn't like the staff because we're a union. So I was hourly. I wowould get grumpy and would just manifest ideas of why I didn't like other people and why I didn't like people. Just off for no reason, and I would get grumpy and hold hostility and anger towards them, and I would just always hold grudges for no reason, small little things that I wouldn't let go. I would always hold on to the little things. In my life, my communication sucked. I mean, my wife and I, for the last 3 months before she told me she wanted a separation, we barely said 5 words to each other, and I always made things about me. I was selfish and inconsiderate. I never thought or saw into them. Same with the kids. I just wanted them to do what I said. If shoes were in the way, I would get grumpy. If the door, I'd get grumpy instead of just closing the door, picking the shoes up, and just carrying on with the small things that didn't matter. Small details pissed me off so much that it just put me into a dark place. Something that didn't matter was always eating at me.
Correct me if I'm wrong. You may or may not relate to what I'm about to say, but one of the reasons I love doing these client success shares is because it really reminds me of where I was at when I was also in your same exact shoes, the shoes that you were wearing on the day that we met you. And I would kind of like to simply describe where I was at. I had turned into a disgruntled, selfish ass.
No,
That's where I was at. Let me ask you, a lot of what you were experiencing, was any of that some roots that maybe had stemmed from communication styles that you had picked up, or maybe even relationship traumas or abuse or any type of neglect? For you, it's not always the case, but for you, it was for me. For you, any of that stuff that you had pulled in from your childhood and or previous relationships that had carried into your marriage, and sometimes it's just sheer exhaustion. Where do you think some of those things came from that were coming out as negative fruit in your marriage, bad fruit in your relationship?
I would say it came from my childhood. I wasn't raised terribly, but my parents had a lack of communication as I grew up, and I saw that, and I attributed that to because my mom and dad never talked. I assumed that's just how you do it. You solve problems in silence, and it doesn't work. And I learned that through this program, that silence isn't make things better.
As you were facing an unwanted separation, which a lot of times unwanted separation almost always leads to divorce. Because if you don't know how to navigate communication when you're in the same house, separation is the opposite of what's needed to restore a marriage, which is the communication with knowledge, understanding, and wisdom on how to build intimacy. And we can use talking about the family dog, the soccer games, the electric bill. We can use communication and talking about things that are logistical to rebuild an environment where a woman feels safe and she feels heard, valued, and seen. And one of the ways that you and I were just talking before we started this recording, one of the ways that you can make somebody trust you, to ruin confirmation bias, to make her feel heard, valued, and seen, is giving her the safe space to have an emotional blow up. Or I could reword it as you're giving her the opportunity to fail, fall, or fuck up. You're giving her the safety to know that if she comes and communicates in the feminine, exploding her negative emotions on you, and especially, you know, as you're a newer student in the program, maybe you're even in your first couple of months, the fact that she feels safe to express all of that emotional throw up of negative feelings about maybe everything that she's experienced the past couple of years or even the past 20 years, that is actually how we actively restore a marriage. Now, that's not all that's required to restore a marriage. There's some other things that we're going to be dealing with. We're going to be dealing with pride and enemies of the marriage and the embarrassment. Once the marriage is restored, now I'm embarrassed to come back into the marriage. What were the things that you did to emotionally harm me during the marriage? And those things are deep-seated roots. How do we get rid of those? Which we address that in step number 8 in the 4th week in the program. But there's this psychological ladder that we take you from step to step to step, because each of the things that have to be addressed, they have to be addressed. The program has a step-by-step system to address those. But as you know, sometimes the reason we still do live coaching is sometimes we need to pivot and do the steps out of order. So which leads me to my question. So you mentioned that a lot of that came from communication from childhood. Mine did as well. I carried baggage into my first marriage. That marriage was like 20-year marriage, went through a divorce, and then entered a new marriage. And I found out relatively quickly in that marriage, the reason that second marriages have a 30% chance of making it and third marriages have about a 10% chance of making it, unless there's children involved, then those numbers go down drastically even further. Are you in your first marriage or second or third?
I'm in my first.
The good thing about you realizing that if I have communication issues from my childhood and I'm still paying the price for that in my first marriage now with my children, it makes a lot more sense to fix this marriage. Otherwise, statistically, based on facts, I'm going to repeat something even far greater than this if I don't position it so that my wife wants to come back into the marriage. I've got to become the best version of myself, but I've got to see her in a way that allows me to lead her back into the life she's supposed to have too. Not just selfishly changing myself, but to position so I'm leading her to change herself to become the better option for her, for the family. When she brought up separation, where were you at emotionally on that day?
I was trying to, that day I noticed something was wrong. So I would, hey, are we going to have some fun? And she's like, I'll talk to you when we get back. Okay. And I was kind of already in that state where I knew something was wrong. I could feel it. And I was trying to find out what basically I was doing wrong that I could change. I was already wanting to make changes in myself because I knew I had to at that point in my life.
So the changes, how long had you been working on those changes? And were you getting support or help to make those changes?
Well, it started in 2020. I stopped drinking and I thought just stopping drinking would help everything. Obviously it didn't because I didn't do anything else. And then in November of 2024, I stopped smoking marijuana thinking, okay, I did drinking, I'll do marijuana. That'll fix everything. And that's all I did was just stop the abuse of marijuana. And I thought, okay, that'll make me a better person, just doing those. And it didn't because I didn't do anything else to correct it. And then I started letting go of the small things, like I said, the doors, tripping over stuff, anything small, I started to just not care about and just do it myself because that's the way I could have always done it. And those small steps I took by myself, but obviously the lack of communication, I didn't step up in my communication game at all. I actually went backwards in communication because I was trying so hard to do all the small stuff that I didn't like and thought I hated so much.
Before you joined the Divorce Offers program, did you try any other program or therapy or coaching or counseling or, follow other people on YouTube? What all had
I
you
did
tried
that.
before you found us? Man, if you're listening to this client success story and you're dealing with any of the things in his marriage, he felt like a girl. He didn't feel like he could breathe in the marriage, but no one saw a path to restoration. If you know that you need a transformation and you see some of the things that you've done wrong, and you're doing everything that you can to change the story, but it's not enough, right now, do me a favor. Put in the comments what you're dealing with, what you've done to harm the marriage and what you've done to try to save the marriage. And put in the comments what's working for you and what's not working and where you need help. I will respond to every single comment that you post in the comments. And in some cases, I'll even do a YouTube video to help you have success in those areas to get you back on track. What all had
I
you
did
tried
that.
before you found us?
I did counseling, and I still go from time to time because it's just a place for me to go and vent and express how I feel without any
Sure.
judgment. And I did marriage helper, which honestly, it got me started into what your program led me into. It didn't make it worse, and it started to make things better because they didn't call it spice, they call it something else. I started working out. I started doing things to change my physical appearance, my mental health. I started taking care of those things. Probably the beginning of January, I started doing those. And then I just kept working at things I knew I was doing and just trying to make them better, but it didn't direct me into the communication process to regain communication.
Let me ask you this. I think you might have just answered the question, but I want to be specific on the question. So in your opinion, the other things that you tried, whether that was like other people you were following or the other program that you did, what specifically about the other things that you tried, what specifically about those programs was missing that was greatly needed to turn the relationship around, not just how you were feeling about yourself?
A straight cutthroat way of how to see into her and build intimacy and communication. There has been a roundabout and time consuming to understand it, and it got right to the point. It made it clear what you need to do without any beating around the bush. It told you this is how you do it: create communication, create intimacy. The other one, it didn't communicate that to you. It just told you just keep talking to her. It didn't have a clear direction in communication.
Sure, that makes sense. I hear that a lot. One of the things that I believe that's radically different about the Divorce Offers program, and we designed it this way on purpose, is there's so many programs out there that are pitching that if you're a man and you're facing divorce, come over here, we can help you. And I always hear that they do help them, but they don't help them restore the marriage. It's a self-improvement program, and it helps you feel better about yourself. It might get you in the gym. It might help you get out of depression. It might, if you've lost 40 pounds in the past, 5 or 6 weeks, it might help you stop the weight loss. It might help you start performing better with your employment or running your business. But oftentimes making those changes yourself without understanding what we're teaching, step one in the Divorce Offers program, is literally how to see your wife, how to heal your wife, and how to make your wife feel valued. Doing those 3 things. Well, how do we do that? Step 1, 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, and 1.4 in the program is we're teaching a mastermind of how do I communicate with my wife in a way that not only does she feel heard, valued, and seen, but I position it so that she changes, so that I maybe for the first time in a long time, I feel like my wife actually sees me again. I'm not just this invisible man anymore that's disgruntled because I've given up because I don't think this woman will ever see me. It's not about just changing yourself. If she wants a separation, she wants a divorce, the marriage is not going to be restored until she changes. Well, how do you change her? Start communicating the right way. And all these 50% of our students, actually today we looked at the numbers on it, 53% of our students in 2025, as of the day of this recording, come from other programs. Why is that? Because the other programs are not teaching the most important element to start the transition of restoration, which is communication. How do we communicate? And a lot of people hear this, they're like, well, what if she doesn't want to communicate? everybody wants communication. We get a good dopamine fix out of positive communication. Would you say that we kind of hit the nail on the head the first weeks in the program as far as what we're teaching? May not always be the first week, but what would be your opinion of the first week in Divorce Stoppers? I'm curious.
Well, you're right on. You hit the nail right on the head, man. You have to gain the communication, and that's what that program starts you out. To be honest, I'm still working on that step every day, trying to get better and better and better. It's not something that you can just get and then it's there. You always have to continue to work on it, I find.
Yeah, because it's real and life is real and life continues and it changes and it evolves.
I know you said this is easy and you walk down the mountain, but really it's always a constant work. Like you can't just, okay, it's done. I've got that part dialed in. No, you're always working at every aspect of your life. And that's something I've never done before. I always just was happy where I was and just stayed level. Now I find myself always continuing to get better at everything.
So true or false, well, let me rephrase this. Would you say that the work and the way that I'm teaching you to continue to evolve into the best person that you should be, to step into your calling and your anointing and to be and to create the life that you want? Would you say that the way that I'm teaching you to do that is easy?
I have another free resource that you can take advantage of right now. My video editor is putting the QR code and the website for this. It's called our free marriage U-turn masterclass. You can register for that right now. Now listen, this week we only have a limited number of spots for my live free marriage U-turn masterclass. What I want you to do right now is pause this video and scan the QR code that my video editor is putting on the website. If you're watching this on your cell phone, you can go to the comment section and click on the link, or simply type in the website that's on the screen, which is denvergriffin.com/masterclass. Right now, pause the video, go register for that, and then come back and I'm going to give you a second free resource.
It is. Once you get the grasp on it, it is easy to learn and get an understanding. You just got to keep continuing to work at it. It doesn't just become natural. You always have to keep working. It doesn't
100%.
It doesn't level off. You always have to be going forward.
Yeah, I'm glad that you brought that up. That's what really makes the program really radically different from YouTube. YouTube is all this information and you're consuming it. Inside the program, it's transformation. We're not giving you information. We're saying, here's what's going on. Here's how you fix it. Now here's step 1. Here's step 2. Here's step 3. You've got to take the steps. And what that means for anybody that maybe is not really understanding what we're meaning by that is it's practical steps that you get to go implement to start. There's an airplane.
Yeah.
You know, what's ironic about the airplane that's going over is, what I'm always asking you when I give you a coaching session, or Marcel does, is let us know if you land that plane in the correct field. So maybe it's not a coincidence that these are going over recorded. But I'm glad that you bring that up, that just consuming information for somebody out there that's watching this video right now and they're facing separation, they're facing divorce, and a lot of them are just saying, well, I just give my marriage to God, which I think foolish. And here's what I mean by that. It's okay to give your life to God, but God doesn't have a return desk for your marriage. And
No.
what he does have is he has the ability and offers to help you. I think God uses angels. I think God uses people, but you're responsible for the life that you want. And I really truly believe that when you show up and do everything that you can within your power, that's when the Almighty will come in to help you do the things that you can't. But you got to do what you're supposed to do first. That would be like saying, well, I hope I can pay all my bills this month. I'm just going to sit home and trust that that's going to happen. No, you've got to get up and do something. But I love that you're bringing up that in the program, we're immediately saying, day 1, welcome. You've got, here's what's going on. Here's what'll work. Here's what's going to turn the train around. Now you got to go actually do it. It's easy and it's not common sense, but it's immediately, here's how you align your actions with your goals. The old version of you that was aligning your actions with your feelings, he officially is dead today. We're not looking back. We're moving forward, and we're literally physically going to go implement things practically that start working quickly. Did that happen for you?
Yeah, I definitely took as best as I could understand it, but in the beginning, trying to see into her, because that's something I've never done. So this was really new to me, being able to see into her. And then, fake it till you make it. And my words was, be the man you want to be till you become him. And that's just what I kept doing. And then, like you said, the kids found it weird. My friends found it weird. The guys at work are like, what's going on, man? What's wrong with you?
Yeah. And in a way, right?
Yeah, 100%. I listen to them. I ask them about their families. I talk to them about their life. And I try, sometimes I get distracted and talk about myself too much still, but I still always make sure my brain to think, hey, let's talk to them about them. They want to hear about them too.
Yeah. So what you're saying is that when you first start this new way of thinking and you're practicing this new way of communication, the first day or two, it's not real. You're testing something to see, is this really aligning my actions with my goals to get the result, to have the life that I want, to make other people in my life, starting with my wife, to make her feel heard, valued, and seen. But then am I doing that with my friends? Am I doing that with my coworkers? And really changing my life so that instead of me being like this disgruntled asshole that just don't even want to talk to anybody, now I'm providing value to everyone's life around me, and it's reciprocal. And you start seeing the value that these people that you used to wouldn't give the time of day, they're adding and contributing to your life because you see them through different eyes. So in the first 1 or 2 days, it is fake it till you make it because you don't even know if this is going to work. But then you see it start working and it immediately and very quickly becomes real. Can you agree with that experience? That's the way it happened for me as the first student in this version of the program.
Yeah, I would say that's exactly how it happened. Mine was a little bit slower. Like I said, my text communication with her is absolutely brutal, but phone calls and in person are next level. And it for sure is, it all comes to seeing into that person and talking to them about them and understanding them. And you know what? Taking the 3 C's and throwing them away. Once I don't complain about anything anymore, I find a way to deal with it instead.
That's beautiful, beautiful. So let me ask you this. What caused you to decide to join the Divorce Stoppers program when your wife said, she wasn't saying, I want to work on the marriage. She was saying, I want to get a separation. What caused you to join the program?
I don't know how I found you, but I was just on my last night, I was in Texas and I found this YouTube of you and your wife, and you were talking about exactly what I was going through. Like almost word for word, everything you said was exactly how I was going through. So I signed up for your master's class and I watched a bunch of your YouTubes on my flight home. And then I got home on a Thursday and I think Sunday I signed up.
Beautiful. So once you found the program, you signed up, you joined the program, you went through the application process, we approved you. What surprised you the most about the program once you officially got started?
Walking in the feminine, right off the start, I realized, the way I texted, the stories, the long, and that's why she doesn't text, is because that's how I used to be. I needed her to text back. I needed her to read my paragraphs or whatever. They weren't paragraphs, but they were longer than they should be. And I realized that, I wasn't a leader.
Yeah. So, and a lot of programs will actually teach that you need to talk to her in the feminine. But then in this program, in Divorce Stoppers, you realize this gruff man, I thought I was being too rough, but really I was communicating like what my wife likes to say. I was communicating like a little bitch. And so I need to level up in my masculinity.
I use Brandy's term all the time.
So Brady uses those terms as well. So that's a beautiful thing. Don't talk. If she's having a bitch fit, you don't need to act like you don't need to have a bitch fit back.
I haven't once, actually, since December 12th, when she told me, I haven't once argued, complained, criticized. I've been making, even before I got the program, I already stopped all that crap, but I just found out a way to make it more applied through this program, more real.
Immediate pivot from condemning, complaining, and criticizing, going to the opposite of all of those things, positive, polite, and playful. Canceling the 3 C's and walking in the 3 P's. And it sounds like not just with your wife, but also with your children and your colleague, which is life-changing. And it's definitely a marriage changer. Let me ask you this. What specific parts about the program that had the biggest impact on your mindset?
I can't pick one out, Denver, because I listened to everything over and over again. I really found like the season of Rock in the Desert was probably one that stood out the most, because I'm there quite often. Like there'll be a week where she's just stone cold in communication, and then she'll come back with full of vengeance and just wanting to be open, polite, HHH, and then the next day could be like standoffish again. So I find being able to understand that one the most made the most sense to me, because it's going to happen even once the marriage is restored. I guarantee you that's going to be a step where you'll be throughout the rest of our marriage.
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing when you go from, hey, I want a separation, to where you're having those moments where it's HHH, which stands for just hanging out, having fun, and occasionally hooking up. That's a beautiful, beautiful pivot. And I love it when I hear that. So let me ask you this. When you're going through the program, did you notice a shift in how your wife responded to you? And maybe like describe when you saw that shift, if that happened so far.
Definitely. We communicate. We talk things through. She'll tell me her feelings about me, something she's never been able to do before because I would stonewall her. And she's okay with telling me those feelings and doesn't feel like she's going to get scolded for them or argued against or, condemned, criticized, or complained against. She really feels comfortable being able to tell me almost anything and everything. Obviously, she doesn't talk about a few things that keep her from wanting to restore the marriage, like the enemies of the marriage and stuff like that. But the stuff that involves me, the kid, and family, fully open and hasn't really held back much.
Well, you're still an active student in the program. And so as you're pacing through the program, you're going to be dealing with a couple of things. You're going to be dealing with the enemies of the marriage, but you're going to be also dealing with what I'm teaching. As you have restored intimacy and communication in your marriage, now it's going to take a little bit for her to trust that your changes are real. Not just to trust that your changes are real, but by your own admission, she has changed. She's changed her mind. She's talking to you again. You're hanging out. You're having fun. You're hooking up. She is building intimacy with you. But there's also a couple of things that you're dealing with. You're dealing with, okay, one of the ingredients that it takes to restore a marriage is time. And for a lot of people that's thinking, well, my wife will never trust me again. This is what I'm teaching where that doesn't even make sense. It's not up to the wife if she trusts you. It's up to you to establish enough new relationship histories of trustworthy behavior. Then it doesn't matter what she wants to do. She will trust you. If I hire a cashier to run my gas station, it's not up to me if I trust them. I can say, okay, I'm going to make a decision to let them run the cash register, but do I really trust them? No, I don't. Not until they've worked there long enough that our audits show that money's not being stolen from the cash register. And after that amount of time, with enough new relationship histories built with trustworthy behavior, then I trust them. Something else that you deal with, for anybody out there that's listening to this video right now, put in the comments if you see that you're making progress in restoring your marriage, but then the enemies of the marriage, this could be a mother-in-law, it could be an affair partner, it could be a miserable woman that's in a failed relationship or went through a divorce and misery loves company, so she's latched onto your wife. Put in the comments right now if you see that those enemies of the marriage, that they're obstacles that's preventing your wife from actually going all in and believing. And it's enabling your wife to be puffed up full of pride. But something else, that your wife has probably went and shared all of your negative stuff about you, the old version of you, the man that you were, that was a bad. Maybe you were, dealing with alcoholism. Maybe you were that asshole like I was, or like what Jamie said, he was maybe walking in a little bit. But maybe you've already made a lot of changes and you're not that man anymore. But there's an enemy of the marriage out there that if your wife did come back into the marriage, she would pay a price. And what would that be? She would lose the friendship with the enemy of the marriage. One of the enemies of the marriage in my marriage restoration process was my daughter, my stepdaughter. And she literally told her mom, because her mom went and told, and when we were actually separated, her mom told everything that I did wrong. Well, guess what? Do you think she embellished any of that? Do you think she maybe shared the worst of me, but made it sound even worse than it was? Yeah, she did. When my marriage was restored to my wife, she told me yes, because I wanted to look like the good guy here. I didn't want people to think bad of me for leaving your ass. So yes, I said to the enemies of the marriage, the people I was closest to, her daughter was her best friend. Her daughter thought I was completely responsible for, like I was Satan. And she literally told her mom, if you go back to him, I'm done. I'm not messing with you anymore. I'm not talking to you anymore. And she meant it. Even after we got back together, for months, my stepdaughter did not even talk to her mother because she thought she made a mistake. Now she's my biggest fan because I started implementing step 1.1 and 1.2 with my stepdaughter. I slowly started that communication with her. And I literally think she's the biggest advocate of my marriage now. So let me ask you this. Where would you say right now your relationship is today compared to where it was when I first met you?
We're best friends. We obviously times get cold and you really stand up, but we really get along well. We do things well together. We have a lot of fun together. It's always great communication when we're together. or on the phone. I really think that the friendship has really grown from where we were even when we were married tenfold. This is probably the best we've communicated in a whole marriage.
How does it feel to you to see your wife through the new eyes that this program is designed to give you?
Oh, she's a whole new woman to me. She's somebody that I've always wanted as a woman. She's exactly, I've accepted everything. She said before I wouldn't, and now I've accepted, like you can't change a person and what they want to do and the things that they do. You can change yourself so that that person changes toward you.
So I think a lot of people discount some of the things I say in some of my YouTube videos when I talk about as you start to see somebody with new eyes, the eyes that my goal in the program is to practically teach you how to take action steps to see your wife from a different perspective, from a totally new vantage point, that it can take to a place where this thing that we see on TV and romantic movies about you're my soulmate. Would you agree? This is my goal of this program, is to teach you what it means to be actual soulmates, to see your wife on a spiritual level to the point that even coming together with sexual passion is so much more intimate that it literally becomes a spiritual experience, and the value of even making love with each other is 10x, because it's just not what's normal in marriage, which is, after you've been in marriage for a long time, just have sex and have, a release for both of you, maybe. That the goal is to teach you to build intimacy with communication, that when you come together as husband and wife, take sexuality and take it to a level where it's sensuality. Have you got to that place yet? Or do you see that you're going there?
Yes, I'm there 100% because we've never made love or had sex like we do now. It is off the chart from everything we've ever done. We talk about it. We talk about things we want to do and what we like. And I see her and what she deserves and needs, and now I can give that to her.
Yeah, whoever thought that kind of safety, where both people feel completely comfortable to be themselves, but also feel like the other person sees into their heart, who would have ever thought that could lead to like 10x sex? Like how beautiful is that?
She said to me, her words are, "It's so different, it's hard to understand."
Yeah, but you understand what she means though, don't you? Because you understand it in a different way, I bet, right? Or no?
100%. She's never had it before. We both have never had anything like this before. And like you said, a happy woman doesn't leave a happy man. And when we do that, when we make love or we even hang out and just have fun, it's always she just doesn't understand it. I'm her safe place, but she doesn't trust the changes, like you had said a couple of minutes ago. And I totally get it. It takes time to build that back. And I have to build 19 years of being a piece of shit back up in however long it takes.
Yeah, and having that kind of sexual passion, and we can even say that it's not just about the sex, even though that's 10x, 20x, and eventually maybe even 100x. I know for my wife and I, it's went to a place where the soulmate status, when sexual passion is involved, that for us, sexual passion doesn't start in the bedroom. It starts in the kitchen. It starts, we're making love in communicating and seeing into each other in the dining room, at the kitchen sink. That's where it starts. And then that coming together in an actual physical union, you know what I'm saying, in the bedroom,
Yeah.
or maybe even on the dining room table. Oh, my kids aren't kids. That it's just a whole new level of beauty, right? Like on so many different realms, a whole new level of beauty.
I found with sex, it doesn't have to be a statistical sex, like go to the bedroom and have sex. Like you said, it could be anywhere at any time and any given moment.
Yeah, it's just enjoying, hanging out, having fun, hooking up. And that's almost a crass way to say it, because the experience of it, once you actually understand how to see each other and have the intimacy and the safety, that just the life together is making love. And that's just the climax of what's already beautifully, maybe morphing. We can kind of describe it. It's almost like, from what you're describing, your marriage right now is a cocoon, and you're not in a rush for it to be the butterfly, because it's so beautiful as it's happening, right?
That's right. That's how I feel. I was in a panic because I wasn't meeting the steps of the program. I'm like, hey, I got to get caught up, get up, cut up. And then I just realized everybody's different and everybody's timeline is going to be different. Some people happen faster, some people longer, some people right in the middle. As long as you understand that and find a way to be comfortable with what it's going to take, not knowing the timeline, then you can be a little bit easier getting through the program.
Yeah. Not being married to outcomes and being very, very comfortable that if you really want to speed up the life and the marriage that you want to have, the way that we speed that up is slow down to speed.
Yeah.
Yeah. None of this makes common sense, but what's normal is to have a shitty life and a shitty marriage and to get divorced. That's normal.
Yep.
How would you say that your role as a husband and a father have changed since you've been a student in the program?
I've become a husband and I've become a father. I wasn't that before. I was just the guy at the house that they come to when they needed things.
How do you feel today as a man about yourself compared to the way that you felt when we first met you?
Oh, I feel awesome. I look the best I have in 20 plus years. I feel great. My energy level is great.
I have another free resource that you can take advantage of right now. My video editor is putting the QR code and the website for this. It's called our free marriage U-turn masterclass. You can register for that right now. Now listen, this week we only have a limited number of spots for my live free marriage U-turn masterclass. What I want you to do right now is pause this video and scan the QR code that my video editor is putting on the website. If you're watching this on your cell phone, you can go to the comment section and click on the link, or simply type in the website that's on the screen, which is denvergriffin.com/masterclass. Right now, pause the video, go register for that, and then come back and I'm going to give you a second free resource. Okay, so now I'm assuming that you pause the video and you register for one of the seats before all the spots were taken up for the free marriage U-turn masterclass. The next thing that you can do, if you know that your wife has active confirmation bias and she's avoiding working on the relationship, the next thing I want you to do right now, make sure you are subscribed to this channel. Make sure that you change the settings and the notifications to all so that you don't miss the new videos where I'm notifying you of my next class. But also click on the next video that my video editor is putting up right now